So I just received these Swidget outlets and plugins. I did not get them for free. I bought and paid for them myself. They look interesting, if not a bit on the expensive side for what they provide. There's clearly cheaper ways than a separate outlet and module for having smart outlets in your home. But they did look interesting, so I wanted to see how they worked and see what they did. So let me get them here. The specs are listed on their website and do describe them. The one interesting thing that isn't clear until you see the box or you look very closely at the picture on the website, only one plug on these is listed as controlled. So it's clearly marked on the box. The top, or this one, is always hot, and this one is your controlled outlet. I do find it a little strange why they didn't make both controlled, but I suppose that would be confusing, or maybe cheaper, less relays inside and so forth. I mean, switching 15 amps through a relay in a limited amount of space can be difficult. We look at the wires here. These are, and it is marked on their website that there is a hot and neutral pigtail with grounding that's a screw. I do also find that odd that all three are not pigtails or all three are not screws. I really wish they would have designed it with all three being screws. Pigtails are fine, except, this is rather deep, and so this is coming off of the back here. And depending on how deep your outlet boxes are, cramming this in with wire nuts and so forth, or if you're using the Wago connectors, may take up quite a bit of space. But such as it is, and this, of course, the pigtails are stranded wire, not solid core. It does make them quite flexible. But again, clamping in stranded wire and wire nuts can cause it to fray, potentially needing to trim these pigtails, and then once they get too short, you're just done. Which is the benefit of screws. You never really have to worry about that. The screw terminals will always be there, and unless you're some sort of gorilla, you're never really going to strip them out. And most of the time, I've even seen some screws stripped out, but you can put a slightly larger screw in and just not be so aggressive, and it works just fine. So it does look like an interesting device. I guess we will try it out here. The little front plate comes off. You can see the pins inside, so it does feel sturdy. It does feel well built. It doesn't feel cheap and plasticky. It feels like a quality outlet, except for the pigtails. I don't like that, but other than that, it does feel like a quality outlet that should hold up, hopefully. I don't know how the internals are made. Maybe I'll take one apart and we will look at the internals. It looks like we can just unscrew it and see. So looking at the individual module here, I'll just take a look at the air quality sensor. I don't have one of these in my house. I have a number of temperature and humidity sensors, but nothing that measures air quality. So I wanted to try this out specifically. And this is one of the reasons I got these, because I can put different sensors in different locations of the house. I mean, they have, like I said, this one here is a USB plug, but they have all kinds of different ones. They have even a little camera, although they don't have the Z-Wave camera out yet. But they do have other devices, night lights and so forth, which is quite interesting. So this again feels the same plastic. It feels decent quality, feels fairly sturdy. Everyone can see my QR code, so you can register my Z-Wave device. But it does look like a little well-built little thing. Looks like a fairly generic board they probably use for a number of different ones that they attach the different components too. But yeah, I'm guessing the on-off button is for, I haven't actually read the instructions, but I'm guessing it's to register the Z-Wave, probably toggle the power port as well. But we will get this hooked up and see how it functions. So here's the outlet installed, and it was fun. I had to knock out all this nice schmoo from the tiling, the bad tiling job, to get the big thing in there. And yeah, it's all right. Seems okay. I do not like the tamper resistance. They are kind of obnoxious to put in. But yeah, like most tamper resistant outlets, they suck. And I don't know why we have to have tamper resistant nonsense, but somebody didn't teach their kids to not touch things, and now we all have to pay the price. So, but I'll have to get a wall plate and put the cover in and put a slot in and test it out in Home Assistant. So here is one of these outlets all torn apart. They do give you just a couple of screws, a couple of clips, and this one giant screw where they make it obvious that you avoided the warranty, which is fine. I like to look inside this stuff. Fairly basic. It is a sturdy built little thing. As I mentioned, there's just not enough room in here for relays on both of the outlets. It is packed full of a nice chunky relay here, and some power rectifiers for the module you put in. It does have decent caps on it. I mean, it does look fairly decent stuff, you know. They did not cheap out. You know, you do pay a hefty price, $45, I think, or $50 American for this outlet. And so, you know, they didn't go cheap, that's for sure. So I don't know what kind of their profit margin is, but you know, I don't feel cheated. There's the nice tamper resistant, which I personally hate. And there we go, gone. No more tamper resistance. So easy enough to fix that problem. But here are the guts. I do wish they would have had room to put in screw terminals, but they opted not to. I wish they did, but such as it is. I do find it strange here. They do not. Their board is not connected to the earth ground, because this piece just sits in here like this. I can get it back in, but it sits down in like this. To wiggle it down in here, but it does not connect to anything else. It is just to the outlet housing. But none of the electronics have any ground. I find it strange that they got this UL approved without that. Very strange. Well, interesting. So here is the Swidget with the air quality sensor plugged into it. And yes, I am taking a video of my laptop screen. Deal with it. I suck. But, you know, here's what it shows you. The basic things, whether it's on and off. You can toggle it, whether the outlet is on and off. You do get a number of controls. 144 entities not shown. So there is lots and lots and lots of configurable items on this. Overall, I'm happy with this thing. The more I've used it, it is kind of pricey, but for all in one little package, I do like it. So I've been playing with this outlet a little bit, and I did want to come back and visit this after I film my initial thing and add this on. The one interesting thing, so this is clearly a 15 amp outlet, and it's listed as a 15 amp outlet on their website. And they sell a 20 amp outlet. And so the issue here I have with this is these pigtails. And I already mentioned I don't like the pigtails. It would have been better with screw terminals. But for some reason, they love the pigtails. So the problem here is that it is typical to run a 20 amp breaker when you have 15 amp outlets. Now, this is totally allowed by electric code as long as you have more than one device on the circuit itself. So each one of these outlets counts as a device. So we have 2. And so if you look in your house, you will see this all the time. You have a 20 amp breaker running to 15 amp outlets. It's because the outlet is designed for 15 amps at this point. And of course, the plug is designed for 15 amps. And the device you're plugging into should draw 15 amps. But the wire coming into your outlet that is on that 20 amp breaker is supposed to be 12 gauge wire. This is 14 gauge wire. It says it on their website. It does say it here as well, if it will focus. And so this is inappropriate to place on a 20 amp breaker. And so this is kind of a downside for this outlet. I imagine other smart outlets with pigtails on them also have this problem. They should be running 12 gauge pigtails, and that would be a normal and expected thing to do, or they should use screw terminals. So this is one big deficiency. Now, it is just the pigtails here, so it is unlikely to cause a real legitimate problem, but you know, because it's just this portion of the circuit that is underrated and will heat up. And the National Electric Code does rate everything to their 80% factor. So it should be more than fine and not burn down your house. But if an inspector catches this and you're using this and you have a 20 amp breaker and he sees these 14 amp pigtails, that will be a big fat no, and you will have to reduce the breaker on the entire circuit to 15 amps. So just something to consider when thinking about these, and hopefully the manufacturer will consider this as well, because yeah, this is not right. I mean, for the nice build quality we have, and to cheap out with the 14 gauge wire, that's pretty bad.